Welcome to the Bo and Luke Show, a podcast designed to inspire you to be better, know better, and do better. You can connect with Bo and Luke on social media at The Bo and Luke Show, or send us an email at fanfeedback@theboandlukeshow.com. Brought to you by Sound United. Without further ado, let's get after it. Bo and Luke Nation, we are back at you with another amazing episode of the Bo and Luke Show. And in studio with us today, we have Mimi and Kofi Nartey. They're from the Los Angeles area, and I'm not going to tell you all about them too much. They can do that, and we'll get into it. So who wants to go first? Mimi, Kofi, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, go ahead. Ladies first.
Ladies first. Yeah, it's actually kind of a long backstory. I feel like I've lived many different lives here in my under 40 years, but I was initially a professional soccer player. So I represented Ghana in the World Cup in 2003. And then after I retired from professional soccer at 22, I went into academia, and I was a college professor for almost a decade. And then I made a transition just a couple of years ago out of that, really searching for different kinds of audiences, have conversations with that I think are really important for the days and times that we live in. So I am now a social entrepreneur. We have a nonprofit foundation that I'm the executive director of, and I have a couple of other organizations that I run and work with. So I do speaking and writing books and writing articles and that now, and we've got a couple of kids.
You played in the World Cup?
Yeah.
Wow.
I learned something
That's
new.
impressive.
It's insane.
Now we feel special, Kofi, if we're learning that at the same time as you are. Yeah, that is insane. And how about yourself?
Yeah, I try to keep it brief. I grew up here in Southern Cal, born in Seattle, so I always have to put that out because I am a Seahawks fan. Although I am a Lakers fan because I grew up in LA. And went to school at Berkeley, where I also played football. Go Bears. Had a quick shot with the Oakland Raiders. First year, that was a long time ago. And guys like Tim Brown, Charles Woodson, and had a good time there. And ended up getting hurt, like many people do. Came back to LA, did a few odd jobs, but then got into acting. And I did acting for about 10 years. Everything from TV shows to a bunch of commercials to a few movies, like Kick-Ass. Was in a movie called Kick-Ass. Was in the Fast and Furious movies. So had a good run. And then fast forward, getting into real estate. I got into real estate in 2003. I got my broker's license in 2006, and been doing real estate ever since. I've worked at a few major firms. Now I have my own firm, Society, and we do residential, commercial, development, all the above.
Yeah, that is impressive. Super impressive. And I think it's right in line with some of our former NFL players who've been on the show and executives and so forth. Sounds like you definitely just keep going after it. And that's what I think that's what our listeners like to hear. But I have to tell you something before we get too much further. Your names have you ever trademarked your names, or are your names trademarked? No, because I was thinking about, you're like, man, those are really cool names. If somebody told me they drove a Lamborghini, I would want to say, man, I drive a Kofi Nartey or a Mimi Nartey. I mean, powerful names. I love it. So tell us a little bit about professional soccer in Ghana. How was that? I mean, it's becoming a bigger sport here. How did you get into that? And how has that played a role in like your discipline that you have today to keep doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I will say I actually had the opportunity to give a TEDx talk about women's soccer and empowerment because I had a very unique opportunity to be a participant observer of something very magical and very special. So I was born here in the United States. My mother is originally from Mississippi, Southern Belle. My dad is from Ghana in West Africa. And when I had been playing very competitively club soccer, it was really the way that my dad and I bonded. I always joke and say that I'm my dad's only son. I have one sister and we are 11 years apart. And so this was the way for us to really connect. So that was the incentive for me to continue to train and and that was kind of, I think, soccer is a really important sport in Ghana. So that's what he really loved. So it was just great all around for both of us. So I got better and better. I was on the Olympic development track here in the United States, like US Olympic development. And then when I was 15, we found out that Ghana was forming a women's national team. And at the time, I had never actually been to Ghana.
Wow.
But I was thinking this is just a really great opportunity for me to connect with my dad's heritage and to pursue something that I'm really passionate about, and to bring like, you know, more visibility and just support the growth of women's soccer in Ghana. And it was an amazing opportunity, very, very different from here. I always say that here in the United States, soccer is an upper middle class sport. We put a lot of money into, you know, especially our girls playing soccer. Sport. We've got the great US women's national team. In Ghana at the time that I played, it was completely different. It was really only kind of the poorest women in the country that were actually playing soccer.
Wow.
So it like, you know, it was like stepping into another planet to see what these women were facing and what they were up against. And I think when we look at international competitions like the Olympics or World Cup, or it seems like an equal playing field because we see the athletes there, but there was just so much that these women had to surmount, from, you know, extreme poverty and illness, you know, malaria, and just there was a lot. So it was, I feel like my destiny in life wasn't necessarily to be a professional soccer player, but I definitely feel like God at that place at that time to see those, to witness those things, and then to kind of shine a spotlight with a platform on those experiences.
So that probably obviously played a role in what you're doing with the foundation now, right? Like, did that kind of open up, I guess, just a different pathway for you?
It really did. So, you know, I think the other part of your question was just about the impact of sports and kind of dictating the rest of my life. Definitely from there, my academic pursuits, I went on to kind of look at women's empowerment and health outcomes and all of that, still related to soccer. And then because Kofi played football and I played soccer, we definitely wanted to come together and give other people, other young children, an opportunity to access. You know, there's no silver bullet strategy for, you know, the poverty or the kind of abuse or other issues that children in really bad circumstances are facing. But sports kind of seems to capture a lot. Like, they get healthy, they learn discipline, they learn all of these soft skills that we use individually as professionals, but really as a couple and as a family. Like, this is a team. And so bring that entire psychology into our household.
That's awesome. Can we dig into that a little bit? Cause like, so in learning about your background here, and I did some research online as well. I truly believe you're going to be good at no matter what you do. Right. And I think you are. Like, you've both proven it in different industries, different careers, different passions that you have. Is there a process that both of you share that you've developed to be good at all these things that you're doing? Because let's look at it. I know some people that just suck at everything that they do, and I think there's a process to sucking. So I know that there's one to being good for everything that you do. What is it? I guess teach us all what we don't know here.
You have to tell them about adjectives.
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, we all suck at everything we do until we don't suck. Right.
I love that. Yeah, that is great.
I think we have to start there with, you know, I'll give you a perfect example. We have this idea that we're going to be good at things right away. And I'm so guilty of it. And the best example I can give you is with golf. You know, I played sports like my whole life. I played soccer was my first sport. I played football, a little basketball. You know, I've always considered myself athletic. And I got on the golf course as an adult, and it was like Frustrationville, USA. I mean, I was like, what is going on? I've seen people just swing this club and the ball just goes. You know, my driver was hitting me 100 yards. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? You know, and it was 100 yards into the water or into the I quickly had to reframe my thinking. And it was funny because even my wife was helpful in reframing the thinking, because it's like, why do you expect to be good at this? You haven't practiced. You haven't had lessons. You didn't play when you were younger. None of the above, right? So I needed to give myself a runway to even get better at it. And I think even in life, I have some philosophies of my own that, you know, none of us are really born to do what we're doing, but it's really unlocking or determining what your adjectives are versus your nouns. So I have a saying, we are our adjectives, not our nouns, right? The nouns are the career that you choose. You're a man, you're a woman, you're an architect, you're a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher. But the adjectives are the things that you bring to those nouns, right? So the adjectives are everything from your hardworking, you're empathetic, the attention to detail, the ways that you describe what you do. And those things are transferable to anything. So, you're an athlete. And when I talk to athletes myself, we have, I do consulting for NFL players and other professional sports. And I talk about that. The adjectives that you're creating being an athlete, you can apply to any career. That perseverance, that, resiliency that you have, the hard work, the teamwork, all of those things, those apply to whatever career choice you're going to make or pursue. And so I think the same thing is true of life in general. And I think, we kind of commit to, if we're going to do something. And the other part is you can't do too many things at once. You have to select the things you're going to focus your energy on and give yourself enough time to experience some success in those things with the failures built into it.
That's powerful.
Do you have any adjectives that what adjectives do you think about when you think about yourself and you're going to attack something new, like how to play golf, which is that's a good example because it's ridiculously hard. What adjectives do you wake up and follow?
Yeah, I think perseverance. It's a big one. That is a big one. And another one, I don't know if it's an adjective or not, but I give myself grace. I have to be patient and give myself grace because again, we're human no matter what. And, we're in a world now where we have social media, we see people's lives, their glitz and glam and all that, but we're not seeing what it took to get there. We're not even seeing what they're posting is real, So there's that piece of it. So I think those things, the hard work, those teamwork, those are built in from my athletic days. But yeah, just having the patience to be able to pursue things with the challenges, the setbacks, and giving myself grace during those periods as well.
You think people give up too quickly?
I think they do. I think we're our own worst critics. And I think that, a lot of times the time frames are just off. When we look at what we're trying to accomplish, it's we're all guilty of it. It's like, okay, you commit to losing weight, right? And you say, okay, by this time next year, I want to be 10 pounds lighter, 20 pounds lighter, 30 pounds lighter. But what do you start doing? You weigh yourself the next day. And you're like, this isn't working. This isn't working. I quit. I quit. I'm good. But it's instead of thinking about what can you do in a week, a month, 2 months, 3 months, think about what can you do over the course of the whole quarter, over the course of a year, over the course of 3 years. Because you look back and that time is going to go by anyway. So you might as well tap into it, give yourself the patience, the longer runway, and say, what can I do over a longer period of time?
Yeah, I think that is fantastic. And for everybody listening, it's probably a good point to hit the pause button and rewind and listen to everything that Kofi just said. Because one of the greatest things I love about doing the show and having you on here to talk to people is they see you, but you didn't just become a professional soccer player. You didn't just become, a luxury real estate agent and, the go-to guy in LA for that business. It's all the hard work and the journey that got you to where you are today. Your pro athletes, your A-list movie actors, all the work that they put into that, your executives running businesses, it's a lot of hard work and you fail along the way and it doesn't just happen. You don't just wake up one day and you are where you are today, which is a great point. So thank you for that.
I keep going back. I've mentioned this a couple times, Bo. You're going to get sick of me mentioning it, but the creator of Dilbert had a saying that says, how to go? I don't want to botch this. Said, losers have goals, winners have systems, and that success is just a product of following that system that will produce that predictable result. And it's kind of like what you're saying just really resonates and rings true to that.
Yeah.
And I can't believe you two have just like risen to the top level of whatever it is that you're doing. Like, Mimi, that's crazy. You played in the World Cup. That is nuts.
Yeah, it's definitely been a special experience. And it's funny because the question that you asked Kofi about an adjective, I would throw out this one. I would throw out humble. And what I was going to say about that is earlier this year, I had a conversation with my dad, and my dad's one of my great mentors, actually. Generally, we have a lot of good conversations, and because he's from West Africa, every time he says something, it kind of is like with that Lion King accent, so it sounds like even deeper all the time, like some deep, proverbial wisdom. But he was just explaining to me that, I really have to know that humility, it doesn't mean that you abase yourself or you don't acknowledge what you're good at. It really means that you are flexible and that you're adaptable. And the more adaptable you are to different circumstances, and he was saying to me, it's like sometimes you have to adapt down and sometimes you have to adapt up, depending on what the situation's called for. So I do think that that's also part of my, and probably your too, athletic experience. When you play a sport, you have a role that you're playing, but you also, at different times, you have to step up. Maybe even though I played forward and I was an attacker, there are times when I had to defend. That's what was necessary. So just learning that adaptability and knowing how to be a team player and how to function, be all around, I think is also, a key to making those different kinds of transitions too.
Sure. Absolutely. How did you two meet?
You can tell it. I'm long-winded.
So it's baked into the World Cup story. So,
oh wow,
like Mimi's background, my dad is also from Ghana, and my mom is from the U.S. She's from St. Louis. And so when they had the Women's World Cup in 2003, they were going to have it in China, and they had the SARS epidemic. And so, hey, there was a global pandemic. We've been there and done
Full circle.
Yeah. SARS epidemic. So they moved the games to Southern California, and specifically in Carson. And so my dad ended up bringing people from the Ghanaian community over to the house, invited the team over to the house to support them, obviously, in the World Cup effort.
Oh,
so
wow.
Help them out and, help get set up and help host and so forth. And then the team arrived and they got off the bus, and I was like, wait, who is that one right there? Who is that? 6 feet tall, cute smile, dimples, And so I pulled a little bit of my Kofi magic and caught her. You have to catch her on the right side of the room. She's kind of kind of conversation. But yeah, we had a chance to connect there. She was still at Columbia in New York, finishing her master's there, and we ended up sort of doing the long distance thing. And I convinced her ultimately to come out to LA and become Mrs. Nartey.
Nice. Well, for all of our listeners who can't see you, I want you all to know that as Kofi's talking about that, they both have big, huge smiles on their face. So you can see the love for sure. So fast forward us a little bit and where you're at today, and you have your foundation. Are you working together every day? Are you going to work every day, and you have your family, and we're dealing with kids doing school from home and COVID? How is that impacting your lives and your relationship, and how not everybody works together, couples and so forth. So what are some of the pressures there, and what kind of advice would you give others?
So it has been kind of an interesting time for us, this COVID quarantine time. I was reflecting with Kofi and just saying that even though this has been very challenging, this has been a very important year for us, with him launching his own business. He's been extremely busy with that, and it's been really successful. But what's amazing about that is, he launched kind of right smack in the middle of quarantine. The kids were home. It definitely was a challenge, because all of a sudden our lives were disrupted, or in particular mine, because I kind of usually take the lead on things at home. And, he was fully engrossed into what his work is. And we live in a lofted space, and it's just like people are talking everywhere. People are trying to do Zoom calls, it was definitely have been through a lot of turbulence. But I think the great thing about us is we have a really good relationship in terms of our communication. And we are very, very, very strategic. I would say, if I were to reflect on, I think what makes us different from other couples, generally speaking, is that we strategize so much. We have so many conversations about, just everything. Prior to COVID, even, we would try to get together once every 6 weeks or so and have like a board meeting. We called it a board meeting about our lives. And we are the two And so we would sit down for lunch and kind of go over, okay, what's going on with your business? Where are you? What's going on, Mimi, with your professional goals? Where are you? Where are the kids right now? What are we doing with the foundation? What's the timeline? So we just have a hash it out meeting, every 6 weeks or so. So we do that.
I'm going to have to copy that.
Yeah. I was just thinking that same thing, Bo.
Yeah. Really approach it, like I said, from a different, kind of wear a different hat when it's a board meeting. It's like, here's our family is our enterprise.
Yeah.
And how are we doing?
Life takes strategy. I mean, it really does. Like it doesn't take strategy for people who just want to be on a conveyor belt, right? If you just want to life, you can just get through life. Yeah. But who are entrepreneurs or people who are ambitious, and then people who connect or marry someone else who's also ambitious, it's really going to take strategy. It's going to take strategy for the relationship, for the marriage, and it's also going to take strategy for experiencing success in life. So it's studying other people, studying their journeys and paths. It's having those ongoing conversations. I mean, literally, and I think it's also important too, getting even a bit more in the weeds, of understanding the human side of it. Like I come back to social media so much because everyone looks at social media and thinks, oh, this person's life is amazing. They're this, they're that. And we look at our own journey and it's ups and downs. And thank God it's ups and downs. Yeah. But you can't really jump without bending your knees, right? So you got, that's a new one. That's a good one.
Like
that's
that.
a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Write that down.
Okay. I like that.
Right? Yeah. So you have to go down, right? Before you can really go up higher than where you are now. Right. So I think that's something that we also look at and are okay with. Right. And then we were talking, it's just like sports. You practice things every single day. We talk about this life strategy every single day in some capacity or another, because again, it's tough. Yesterday's conversation, I was even lamenting a little bit about how it was, and we were talking about it, and we just kind of reminded each other that the challenges are part of the rewards. Like there's no reward without the challenge. So if we sign up, which we have done, like signed up for success, then we have to face the challenges and the hard work that come with it. Right. And just, be grateful again that you have more ups than downs.
Yeah. I also think for us, again, because we are first generation on one side of our family, and my mother, our parents on the other side kind of come from humble means, but we were so impressed with what our parents were able to do in the span of their lifetime. So, my father-in-law and my father came to the United States during the African brain drain, and they came here. I think they have about 9 degrees between the two of them. That's not even father-in-law is a rocket scientist. Like they have just worked so hard coming from, these villages in Africa, and the rest of their progeny has opportunities that are just like unimaginable because of what they did. And so for us, we're looking at it like, well, we can't drop the ball. Like, what's our contribution going to be in this, this family legacy as well? We have so much that has been afforded to us by the hard work and the sacrifice of our parents. What are we going to do? How are we going to move this forward? And I think kind of framing it that way gives us a common goal. And that's also part of what helps us to, stay the course, stay committed, and be focused on this conversation and this strategy and everything.
Yeah. I think that is super. I was talking about that on a social media post recently about, our personal physical time here is really not that long, but your legacy can be. And that is through your children, your family, the people that you touch and connect with. That can last for a very long time. So you can, as an individual, you can truly have a big impact on the world. And I think it takes exactly the types of things that you are talking about, and being strategic and having life strategy, family strategy, couple strategy. I think that's just truly amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's great.
Yeah, that's great.
That I also want to throw out there to other, couples or people in relationships that are thinking about this. We started kind of reading the same books. That's something that, people take for granted, but we kind of developed a little bit of a syllabus, so that way we have access to the same tools and information, and it kind of helps conversations go further and deeper. And it also is a little bit more efficient with us understanding each other and understanding certain conceptual models when we're talking about what our strategy is. So I think people love to read, and maybe on occasion you'll like refer a book to your partner, but we're kind of serious about it. So like if I start reading something and it's good, I'll just have it sent directly to his office.
Oh, that's a good tactic. I like that.
Here's one that we definitely need to read. And then we kind of together, we talk about it, we go back to it. So I think that's also because, it's your education and the way that you think is influenced. And so you want to kind of grow your minds together in the same direction. So
that's great. That's a great activity.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much, Luke.
I'm learning a ton. Look, I have a mind map written out right here.
Look at that.
I know, Mimi and Kofi. I have like a big circled action item here for the board meeting. Like I'm going to start doing the board meeting right away.
Yes.
I don't know if every 6 weeks is often enough when I start off with this. I think I'm going to start off like every 3 weeks and then maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. And then after you get a rhythm, I could see it spacing out.
Yeah. Well, I love what you're saying, because I think so many people in their lives, I think there's 2 sets of peaks and valleys that they travel through. And sometimes, and they're not always at the same time, which can be really chaotic in people's lives. So if normally you're going to hit, and I think this is true with everyone, you'll hit a high point professionally, low point personally. And then as you start to renegotiate that internal struggle between what you're going to focus on, those peaks and valleys just interchange as you go, if that makes sense. And those are a bummer, right? Like that's the worst. You think about it, it sucks either way. Like if you're reaching a peak personally and then a valley professionally, that sucks. And then if you do it the opposite way, that's even worse.
Yeah, no, I think, a valley versus like a cavern are different things as well too. It's like, one of the sayings that I really like, instead of work-life balance, is work-life peace, and really being at peace with those ebbs and flows. Because truthfully, there's no such thing as balance. Yeah. There's never a time where your work life and your personal life are balanced. There's never a time where your diet plan and your desire for fun and good are balanced. It's never actually balanced. But you just have to be mentally at peace with where things are. So when you have those, long extended days of work, and you're not spending as much time with the family, or you have the long days with the family and you're not spending as much time on yourself or what have you. But then you do find those moments of, okay, well, this has paid off because look what we've achieved, or look where we're able to travel to, or look, now you're being invited to be on TV, or look, now you're whatever it is, that creates that reminder of, okay, this is why it all makes sense. This is why it all works together.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is awesome. We had a guest on the show last season. Her name's Mary Lucas, and she's the author of Lunch, Meat, and Life Lessons.
Yes.
Sharing a butcher's wisdom. But in there's one chapter about secret sauce, right? She calls it her secret sauce. So Kofi, on your website, and you are known today as like the go-to guy for, high profile athletes, entertainers, and finding them real estate to buy, or they're selling, or they're investing in. And you don't have to give it all away, of course, but you must have some type of secret sauce that attracts a certain type of client.
I know if it's if there's one secret sauce. Well, I guess sauces can have a lot of ingredients built into it.
Of course.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot in the sauce.
There's a lot in the sauce, right? But I think, what's sort of transferable to anyone is really combining certain things. And if you want to be really successful, especially in any sort of sales or career where you're servicing other people, you're building a foundational sauce, if you will, right? And that's a combination of expertise. You have to know what you're doing, building that trust with people. Trust is
right.
Critical. But expertise and trust go hand in hand, because they'll trust you because they know you're the expert, right? Integrity is huge. Integrity is huge, and it's one that often gets neglected, especially in my industry, especially in my town, unfortunately. And I think what's funny is I feel like if I said, you know what, let's leave integrity out of the ingredients, let's just go with the others, I would be even further ahead, set up for a big crash later, because I feel like that's kind of how it works. So I'll take the slower pace. Like even now, I'm only about 40% of where I want to be in my career in real estate. I think a lot more I want to do. But when you take that high road, it can sometimes be a slower road or a longer road, versus, some of these other people that I see. But I think that combination of things that has really helped me to this point in my career.
I think that's great. And I asked that question, and that was a phenomenal answer. And I think that, I know in my community here where I live in Northeast Ohio, I know that there's a good portion of real estate agents that listen to the show, that just people we know, and it's spread, and they really love it. So, what you're talking about, you don't have to be in the luxury real estate market to employ everything that you don't even have to be in real estate to employ what you just said. Right. And I think that's key. And that's a great lesson for those listening that, where Kofi's at today doing, luxury real estate based on his clients are, what he's doing is what you could do yourself. Fantastic.
That's right. I think that integrity is a huge part, because whether you're in sales or not, we all have clients no matter what we do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So before we let you go, is there a way for, or talk a little bit about your foundation and how people can people donate to your foundation?
So it is called the Nartey Sports Foundation, which is just our last name, Nartey. Nartey Sports Foundation. You can go to that, narteysportsfoundation.com, and donate. And again, we're just raising money and working with a variety of different kinds of programs that are servicing children that are underserved or at risk. This has been an interesting year, obviously, because we've had the pandemic. And so we aren't, we've been able to be a little bit more flexible and kind of thinking more broadly about the needs of these potential youth athletes, even contributing to Feeding America, what's it called?
Kid Hungry.
No Kid Hungry. That's what
Yeah.
Because obviously, we want to be responsive to what's going on in real time. But in the past 2 years, we have helped girls who have been sex trafficked in juvenile centers in LA County do ballet. We have helped girls and women get access to playing water polo in the Philippines. We have sent sports equipment to Ghana. We've even helped just a local girls softball team here get to the state championship. Not everybody could afford that. So, these aren't necessarily, it's not a 7-figure kind of projects that we're funding. They are just important little places where we're meeting the gaps and filling the needs. We had a youth soccer player earlier this year whose apartment burned down. She lost all of her equipment. We were able to replace that equipment for her. And we're actually, looking at a couple of student athletes who've been impacted by the hurricane this year. So just like little places, like I said, where we're looking to see if we can meet needs and just help support our community. When we were talking about getting this started, I told Kofi, I said, I don't have to be Oprah before I can help someone.
That's right.
We are going to start this off today. Tomorrow is guaranteed. As you're saying, not only can your legacy be long lasting, but your legacy can start immediately with what you're doing, the way you serviced your community. So that's, fortunately we had a like mind on that. Anybody who's interested in donating, we hold events annually. If you're in the Los Angeles area, we'd love to have you come out. So if you follow the website, we usually post about that. We have an annual gala. We've had a chance to honor some really awesome figures in sports in LA, from the LA Dodgers, from local universities here. So
nice.
It's been a really awesome project to bring all these people together for such meaningful impacts,
for sure. That's awesome.
It's amazing. I'm looking at it right now.
Luke, any parting thoughts?
You're just, I'm so glad we met. You're wonderful people. You really are. And I think that your words of wisdom are going to help out a lot of listeners that we have that, are in just different situations in their life right now. I mean, just start realizing that they're going to be bad at something before they're good, and start having board meetings. I think the takeaways, the little nuggets that you sprinkled in here, came up with some great stuff on the fly. Like, you have to bend your knees before you can jump, and there's lots of ingredients and a secret sauce. I feel like you could trademark half this podcast right now.
That's true. We're going to start with their names. Don't forget that. Yeah,
no, just gratitude for meeting you both. Sure. You're doing awesome things in not only in your life, but for others out there too. And can't wait to see what else you accomplish with the rest of your time here, because wow, it's been good so far.
Meeting for president.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd vote for sure. We'd vote for you. Absolutely.
Love it.
It probably wouldn't be hard right now. Like, you still got time.
Exactly. It's kind of maybe even an unfair competition right now.
Yeah, I'll write in your name on the 3rd. Is it the 3rd? I think it's the 3rd.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, thank you so much. I'm just going to say it. Yeah, that's a wrap. Tune in for a new episode every Thursday. You can subscribe to our email newsletter for information on upcoming guests, giveaways, and more. Rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you to our sponsor, Sound United, for quality broadcast audio throughout Season 2.